Shalom. Apostle Torah coming back at you with the truth, giving all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Makakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this video The Controversy with the 12 Tribe Sign. The 12 Tribe Sign, excuse me. This is a comment that was put up by Paul Kersey 5. Shalom, Elder Apostle. I wanted to know your thoughts on the 12 Tribe Sign because it's a big thing nowadays. But do you believe it to be 100% factual? Are there any kinks in the sign? What do you say? So I came back and I said I will do a video on it. The 12 Tribe Sign, that's one of the controversies, major controversies of the whole Hebrew Israelite thing. That's what I call it, the whole Hebrew Israelite thing. Give me a sec, let me plug this in. I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but let's see where the Spirit takes me. The only group that deals with the 12 tribes, not just the tribe of Judah or the Jews, links directly back to One West, so that what they call us One Westers. So every Israelite that was part of One West that broke off, that set up their own camps, they also deal with the sign. They still deal with the sign. So this individual is asking about, is there kinks? Is 100%? Of course it's 100%, because High Priest Ariah said it in the spirit of the Most High. Was dealing with High Priest Ariah at that time. Now he's we don't know what's going on right now. You know, he still knows he's the Israelite, but this is the spiritual thing, and it's always based upon faith. You know, you have Israelites. You know, they come into the school, then they become disenchanted, and you know what they do? They go back. If they were a Baptist, they go back to being a Baptist, or they might be a Muslim, or they might be someone in the world. That goes right back to the world. In the back of their mind, they know that they are Israelites, and they may denounce it. No, I was never an Israelite. You know, this is a cult, this, that, and the third. But anyway, we know that 12 tribe sign is correct, because it has to be a fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophesying it. Because Ezekiel didn't walk around with a 12 tribe sign. Actually, let's go to that. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, which it seems like I always mention Ezekiel 37, but this says a lot. From the time going back to Abba until now, this is the beginning of the awakening. The beginning of the awakening started with Abba Bivens, which we believe is Elijah the prophet coming back for the second time. He came back as John, or as they call him, John the Baptist, and then he came back again as Abba Bivens. You know, returning the fathers to the children, the children to the fathers. I'm merely paraphrasing from Malachi 4. So there had to be a particular man to initiate the bringing back of the Israelites. And mind you, they were speaking about Israel before Abba Bivens came on the scene, because he was part of the commandment keepers, and he broke off. And as the story goes, those other members this just dealt with the Old Testament. They didn't deal with the Messiah. they were following the so-called Jew. It's the so-called Jew. They don't believe that the Messiah has come yet. Now I spoke to this one individual. He was Hasidim, and we had a pretty long talk. And I picked him up, and he had told me, and I asked him about, you have two separate groups. One teach that they can't go back to the land of Israel until the Messiah takes them back, and then he said you have another group that's over there building. Well, their thing is they're building the temple so when the Messiah comes back. So he obviously is a part of that group where they don't go back to Israel until the Messiah comes and brings them back to Israel. So I was just, and then he was asking me questions, so we were going back and forth. We had a nice little dialogue. So I have even that much more information about them. You know, this is it's all about gathering information. So when you encounter them, you can bring it back up. Well, I spoke to one, you know. Anyway, Ezekiel the 37th chapter, and I would love to read this every week when we go out speaking, because this covers a lot. You know, from the time of the bones in the valley. I'm not going to read it, which we believe that it's definitely America. And the bones coming together. You know, when you see bones, you see, you know, death. You think of somebody, well, who died? And how many years ago did that person die? You know, it's just like, it's no different than dead bodies in the wood. And like an individual might be walking his dog and see something that look like a bone and call the authorities. And then the authorities come, they do DNA testing and do whatever their magic that they do, and they realize, oh, it was that little girl that was missing, or it was that old person, or somebody had Alzheimer's and lost their way and they just dropped and they died right there, or whatever the case may be, or it may be in a shallow grave. So when you see bones, you wonder whether it's a human bone or animal bone or whatever. So we are those bones. We are those bones that are coming back to life, that are being resurrected. You know, to resurrect means to basically means to stand back up. So we're standing up, and these nations are noticing it, and other Israelites are noticing it, which are bones, which are starting to wake up, or starting to rise up. Now you have bones, which are Israelites, that rise up and fall right back into sleep, and they go right back. They're comfortable, you know, going back into that state of being dead. And there's thousands of them that came into this thing and became disenchanted by this thing for whatever reason. So whether they fall off, whether they come into this thing, whether they break off and set up their own thing, and you know, say, oh well, the dry bones are only the tribe of Judah or whatever. Anyway, so the Most High brought the bones together, and when you do a word find, I just want to do a word find, and I'll put in the word Israel. Okay, it's up there 8 times. Now what I'm gonna do is, so from verse Ezekiel 37 verse 1 all the way down to verse 10, it does not mention Israel. The 10th verse or the 9th verse, it says, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man. Who prophesies? Prophets. So when we go out there and tell you that you're Israelites, that the so-called white man is Edomites, and America is Babylon the Great, that America will be destroyed, that you're going to go into slavery, we're going to have a kingdom, and the Most High will be classified as a so-called black man. The Most High's son will be classified as a so-called black man, and he will raise us up. The reason why we came over here, I'm talking about mainly Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and slave ships to serve slavery, because that's a fulfillment of Joel, the 3rd chapter, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and many other scriptures. Second Kings, the 17th chapter, Second Ezra's, the 13th chapter from the 40th verse on down. So when you put these precepts together, you come to the realization that we're Israelites. Now you have people that's not going to accept it. No, that's not taught. You're just making it. Why are all these prophecies in this book either came to pass or has to come to pass? And all of these prophecies fit us. All of these prophecies point directly to us. So anyway, let me go back to the 9th verse, Ezekiel 37 verse 9. It says, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord power, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. And breath means, and I did a couple of videos on this in the past, it means this knowledge. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Now, did that happen during the time of Ezekiel? No, it's happening now. So Ezekiel, when it speaks about Ezekiel, it's referring to a fellow prophet, and we believe that we are one of those prophets. So we are the ones that are prophesying, and the bones are coming together. Now it says in the 11th verse, that's the first time you see Israel. It said, then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, let me look up the word Israel. Let me look up the word Israel. It says the second name for Jacob given to him by the Most High after his wrestling with the angel at Peniel. Peniel meaning face of God, so you can understand. Ya'ala. The name of the descendants and the nation of the descendants of Jacob, which is Israel. So the only Israel, the true Israelites are the people that descended from Jacob, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The name of the nation until the death of Solomon and the split. Yeah, because it became two separate kingdoms. And these the northern kingdom left Israel. So through the scriptures we realize that they went to another region, which is over here in the Americas. The people in Central, South America, and Canada, those Indian people, dark people, whatever you want to call them, those are the Israelites. That's the northern kingdom. It said the name used and given to the northern kingdom, consisting of the 10 tribes under Jeroboam, the southern kingdom, was known as Judah, the name of the nation after the return from exile. So now let me come back. So going back to High Priest Ariah, the spirit, he told a story. I was there when he told it a couple of times, how he got up in the morning, like 3 in the morning, he went to the school, and they knew about the 12 tribes. You know, they had the 12 tribes, but they didn't have the breakdowns. And the Spirit showed them that this is the tribe of this is the tribe of that. And then the Most High led them to them scriptures. So when you read those scriptures, you either gonna say, nah, that don't mean that, or you're gonna see it, or you're gonna actually see it. Give me a second. And like I said, you got individuals that come into this truth. They might have been a Baptist, a Methodist, or whatever, Jehovah's Witness. They come into Islam or whatever. They come into this truth, and then they become disenchanted. You know, that's in the book of Jude. You know, they pretty much turned their back on this truth, and they went back to whatever they into. But they're still a part of those prophecies. They're still a part of the dry bones. Anyway, let me read. See, I don't have to go and break down each and every tribe. Well, the tribe of Gad because of this, that, and the third. The tribe of Judah, we know that it's the tribe because people are not going to believe, and they can choose not to believe it, or they can become disenchanted. See, and it's a dangerous thing when you question whether that tribe sign is correct. Because if you question that, you're going to question something else. The scriptures speak about doubting about questions wherein cometh strife. And strife is what? Debate, arguing. Because when a guy says, well, that's not talking about the 12 tribes, they all black or whatever the case may be. What do they want to do? Well, we want to debate on it. Ain't nobody want to debate you. Either you see it. The Lord said a couple of times, he said, well, I'm thinking about one time in Matthew's 11th chapter, he spoke to them about John, and he said, and if you will receive it, this is Elijah, which is forth to come. He didn't say, if y'all, we're going to have a debate on it. No. If you can't see it, you ain't meant to see it. If you can see it, then you're meant to see it. And that's why Vocab Malone can't see the reincarnation thing, and it's right smack dead in his face. Because he's an Edomite. Until he prove otherwise, he's an Edomite. And the Most High has not opened up his eyes. Period. Anyway, it says in Ezekiel 37 verse 11, then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel, which represents national Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried. Because at one time, Jake wasn't going around saying that they were Israel. Now this is a big, as they call it, movement. This is a big thing now. Yes, celebrity. Look, when you got celebrities watching the videos and you're starting to read the scriptures or whatever, this thing is becoming big, man. This is like the old saying, elephant in the room. This is the elephant in the room, man. Everybody's trying to pretend like they don't see an elephant, but they know there's an elephant in there, sitting right next to them. So we would be classified as that elephant in the room. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. I'm gonna actually put that quote in. Bear me for a minute. Bear me for a minute. Okay, elephant in the room. The expression elephant in the room or the elephant in the living room is a metaphorical idiom in English for an important or enormous topic, question, or controversial issue that is obvious of that. Wow, that's us. We're the elephant in the room. Now I'm clicking on it. Wow. The elephant is a metaphorical English and important or for an important or enormous topic, question, or controversial issue. The whole Hebrew Israelite thing is a controversial issue. That's why the so-called Jews are coming out now. That's why they attacked Nick Cannon, because you bring that subject up. Oh, you're anti-Semitic and you're this, and we're gonna take you to a tour for the Holocaust Museum issue that is obvious or that everyone knows about, but no one mentions or wants to discuss because it is, at least some of them, uncomfortable or is personally, socially, or politically embarrassing, because it's going to be embarrassing when it comes to the so-called Jews that they're not the people and that they're in fact Edomites. Controversial, inflammatory, or dangerous. So what they do, they equate us as being dangerous. And what the hell? First of all, we go out on the corners with a group. Normally it's a group of us, and we read the scriptures, and we say this means this, and that means that, scripture means that. How in the hell is that dangerous? It goes on to say it is based on the idea of thought or slash thought that something as conspicuous as an elephant can appear to be overlooked. We're gonna pretend like we don't know that thing on the highways and the byways. In codified social interaction, and that the sociology, psychology of repression also operates on a macro scale. Macro meaning big, the big picture. Various languages across the world have words that describe similar concepts. So it's something that is obvious, but you have certain people that pretend that it's not there. So now let's go back. So we know from the first verse of Ezekiel 37 to the 10th verse, it says, it absolutely mentions nothing about Israel. So you can break it down the way you want to break it down, who these bones are. But then, starting from the 11th verse, it said, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off of our parts. So this is the Great Awakening. And that's why it's important. It's tantamount importance to have that sign. That's when you know who the true prophets are. So this truth definitely came out of One West. You don't see the people that run into the Hebrew Israelites on the street are guys that are from One West or individuals that followed a break off of one of the One West camps. For example, Sakari is a break off from GMS. Now let me jump down to 12 verse. Ezekiel 37 verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people. That's what we're telling them. He said, we point to the sign. I will open your graves, and those graves are spiritual graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Now that kills that flee doctrine that GOCC used to teach. Oh, we got to get out of here. Oh, it says in Revelation 20 verse 4, come out my people. And that's what Ariana used to teach at first, that we got to get out of here before the missiles come. No, we're going to get out of here. The scriptures, Peter said, the righteous shall scarcely make it. So what does that mean? That means when the missiles are getting ready, bearing down on Babylon the Great, we're going to look up and we're going to get beamed up into the clouds, which are the ships, and then ultimately we're going to go back to the land of Israel, and then the headquarters of the kingdom will be in the land of Israel, and everyone else will be under us. It says, in ye, I'll go to 13 verse. And ye shall know that I am the Lord when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. And ye 14 verse, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall, and that's the breath, my spirit in you, and I shall place you in your own land. So this is getting ready to happen. And this will happen when Babylon the Great is destroyed. Then shall ye know that I am Yahweh. I Yahweh have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord. (16 verse). Israel, the word Israel is mentioned here 2 times. It says, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and that word stick translates into the word plank, like a plank of wood, and write upon it for Judah and the children of Israel, his companion. Who are the companions of Judah? Benjamin and Levi. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, which is interchangeable with Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim. The stick of Ephraim. And you can go to, was it Numbers? I think it's Numbers chapter 1. I believe it's the 32nd verse, if I'm not mistaken. You can go to it, or you can put it down in the comment, but I'm not going to go to it. It says Joseph. If you go to Revelation, the 7th chapter, the Lord speaks about the 144,000, and he mentioned out of the tribe of Joseph 12,000, which we know that's Ephraim. If you're not familiar with the scriptures and the way the precepts work, precept upon precept, you'll say, well, who's Joseph? I never... Well, somebody has to explain to you that Joseph is interchangeable with the word Ephraim, or the tribe of Ephraim. It said Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. It says, and join them one to another into one stick. So did that happen during the time of Ezekiel? No. Ezekiel, there's no record of Ezekiel walking around with a 12 tribe sign. So it obviously represents us now being like Ezekiel. We are likened unto Ezekiel because we're prophets, just like Ezekiel was a prophet. And Ezekiel didn't even understand what's going on. We understand what's going on. We know exactly what's going on. Our eyes are fully open to these scriptures, mainly the prophecies. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these things? So so the tribes are accepting this truth. You have to be an Israelite to accept this truth. You have to be an Israelite to understand this truth, but you have to be a prophet. You have to be one of the elect, because there's Jake that just can't see it. So you don't have to argue with him and debate with him. If you can receive this as the Lord said, If they can't receive it, well, we're going to have a debate. We don't debate. We don't debate. Now you have little impromptu debates that happen on the street. Somebody come up and then you cut them with the scripture. But if they can't see it, you know, tell them to just walk on down the street. Anyway, it says here, Ezekiel 37 verse 19, say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribe of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. There it goes again. And the stick, 20th verse, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. When? Right now. And this time. Started back with Abba, Ariah, and on down the line. It says, and say unto them, thus, 21st verse, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, because where are we now? We are scattered among the heathen. Whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into the land of Israel. So this is getting ready to happen. Some major events is getting ready to happen. But before the destruction comes, they would have to chip everybody. 22nd verse, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and that's King David. He's a physical king, which is Peter. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. And now if you notice the various camps, you'll see a couple of Judites, you'll see a couple of Benjaminites, you'll see a couple of Levites, you'll see a couple of Issacharites, you'll see a couple of Ephraimites, you'll see them, and you might see a Simeonite in the background, which a lot of Simeonites are Judah any damn way. Anyway, it says here, jump down to the 26th verse. Moreover, I will make a covenant, an agreement of peace with them. Why? Because he's going to change us. He's going to make us perfect, and he's not going to put us in this, have us suffer slavery anymore. Because why? Because we're going to be, the Most High is going to make us perfect. We're not going to break one law. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. And Revelation, the 21st chapter, says that the Most High will dwell with men. It's talking about Israelite men. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yeah, I will be their power, and they shall be my people. The Israelites. Daniel, the 2nd chapter, and around about the 40th verse, it says, the kingdom shall not be left to other people, meaning other nations. So you're not going to have an Edomite, you're going to see Israelites in the kingdom enjoying themselves, and you're going to see an Edomite here and there. No, that's not going to happen. Israelites are going to be the number one nation, and all the other nations are going to be under us. 28th verse. And the heathen shall know, and the other nations shall know that I am the Lord, that I the Lord do sanctify Israel. In other words, the Most High is going to say, these are the Israelites, they're over you, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So now I could have went into breaking down the tribe of Judah means this. Let's go to it. You can either believe it, or you don't have to believe it. The fact that Ariah came with this concept, actually the Most High gave him this information to do it, proves that we those people. Now, are you going to have Judites mingled among the other tribes, looking like some of the Latin tribes? Yeah. Simeon, which are the Dominicans, you have a big number of them that are actually Judites, man. Because the first so-called African slaves that were brought over here to this country or this side of the world, was taken to Santo Domingo. You got, man, I done met Dominicans that are black with kinky hair, and they'll tell you in a minute that they're white. That's a messed up in the head. Anyway, with everything being said and done, the 12 tribe side is correct. Is absolutely correct. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom and so on to the next one. Shalom.